Hello, hello. We're back after skipping last week, but there's only two of us this time. It happens.
Treano back. Not
Yep.
really a trio anymore
No, we're
for now.
not. But we're here. At least we're here. Weren't here last week, but some big shit has happened in the last couple weeks. Starting with Jerry Jeudy going from like 30th in receiving yards on the year to being a top 5 receiver in the NFL after just 1 week.
Tied with CeeDee Lamb right now for that fourth, fifth spot. 880 yards receiving right now.
Yeah, that's crazy. Do you think this is a sign of more things to come from Jerry Jeudy, or do you think it was just like him playing against his former team, plus their top corner was out, that and you got famous Jameis whipping
I
it
was say
damn
I
near
think
500
Jameis
yards?
Winston's like a big reason why that actually happened.
I
So
do. I will say this about Jameis. I think honestly he was getting kind of overhated after the game because after the game everyone was like, "Oh, it's such a Jameis Winston type of game." You know, he has his like 2 pick sixes plus 4 TDs, but he didn't have those 2 pick sixes until like the last like 5 minutes. Where honestly, if they were just playing any type of defense, they would have been fine because they were up, like they were at like 30 points and up at one point, or it was like 34-32 or something, and it's like he's got to make a play with only like 2 minutes left. He's gonna kind of force some stuff that he probably shouldn't, but he's just gunslinging it out there, having a good time.
it just shows that he's just there to play football.
Yeah.
He's there to just sling it, try. He doesn't even really care about proving himself anymore because he's at that point of being a QB for so long. I mean, not so long, but he's been in
He's
the
been in
league
the
for a
league for
while.
almost 10 years. Next year is his 10th year. Can you believe that?
Yeah,
10
he's kind of
years.
in like even more of like a Sam. He's even worse than Sam Darnold's position right now. But
Yeah.
I feel like
But I don't
I don't know.
honest who do you think is better? Jameis Winston or Sam Darnold? As of right now, who would you take to win a
I
game?
mean, right now I'm taking Jameis Winston because with what Jameis Winston has,
Hmm.
with what he's been doing. I mean, they're still freaking what, like 3-9. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but ever since he's like been starting, they've been doing significantly better offensively. Not, I mean, they're still kind of getting held back by their defense,
Hmm.
but offensively, I mean, he's been making some typical Jameis Winston mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
there's only been like 4 other teams who have allowed more points than the Browns have this season in the AFC. Don't know about the NFC, but AFC, they're a bottom 4, bottom 5 team in points allowed. They've allowed over 300 points. Where at this point in the season, 300 points is like that's a bad defense. If your team is
yeah,
allowing over 300 points through like 12 games, that's a rough start. And speaking of which, honestly shocked me to see the Ravens are actually part of that group at 318 points
hmm
allowed, even though they're really known for their defense. But speaking of the Browns, real quick, taking a look at the standings again, I mean, the Browns are in last place at 3-9. But who do you think out of these bottom teams? We can count the Bengals and the Titans because they are like the real shitters of the AFC. Who do you think could possibly make the right moves and make a run for a playoff spot or even a sleepy Super Bowl contention next year? Except
definitely. I'm already gonna say
the
definitely the Bengals.
yeah, I was gonna
But
say except the Bengals. I feel like
except the Bengals,
everyone knows
yeah,
if
everyone's
they
gonna
get
say
that defense figured out just at all, they will be fine. I mean,
yeah.
they
'Cause, I
have
mean,
the worst defense in the NFL.
they're leading passing yards. They're leading receiving yards. I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure
I think
their
Joe
offense is
Burrow, I think
perfect
like
right now.
twice this year, has been like the only quarterback in history to lose games in the way he has, with just
hmm
a losing and shoot. I mean, if you put up 35 points, you're thinking you win, but they don't. Do you think the Bengals, do you think it's a personnel thing, or do you think it's time for Zach Taylor, the head coach, to finally get canned? Because, I mean, they've been known, even in the years that they were really good, they have slow starts. They are one of the slowest starting
hmm
teams. Every year it's a narrative. It's like, well, they might
I
be
mean,
good,
how
but that
long has
first month
Zach
sucks.
Taylor been there?
He was been there since the year before they drafted Joe Burrow. So 2019.
So, I mean, within those years, he hasn't really like brought them to too many like winning situations. I mean, they have been good enough to get when what was the year when they made it like a pretty damn good playoff run?
Yeah, it was 2021. They made it all the way to the Super Bowl and lost to the Rams. Real quick, I just pulled it up. It's
2021.
kind of hard to see, but the Bengals, Zach Taylor. Let me see if I can quickly increase this a little. But Zach Taylor, there we go. Zach Taylor right here, a 41-52-1 record as the head coach. 5-2 in the postseason, though. That's nothing to scoff at. 46-54-1 in total. But if you just like, I kind of feel like, honestly, the Bengals should go in a different direction because the offense, it was shit with Zach Taylor. Now, I mean, they did get Joe Burrow. So, and the quarterback they had before that wasn't that good. But I feel like Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase made that offense, not Zach Taylor. And the defense has been dog shit every year. Well, I think if you're the Bengals, I mean, Bill Belichick should be their top option. But if he's not, I still think they should go get a defensive head coach, fix the defense, and just let Burrow and the OC and Jamar just run the offense. They got the personnel. They know what to do there. They just need someone to come in and fix up that defense. I think Bill Belichick would be perfect for that, or just anyone else who's a more defensive-minded coach.
I agree. I mean, I agree 100%. They just have one problem that they need to fix that would make things so much better for them. So much better.
So much. But if we are taking out the Bengals, who do you think AFC-wise? We'll start with AFC, then go to NFC. Do you think anyone else here could go from zero to hero, or do you think Bengals are the only real shot at doing something like that next year?
It's hard to say because I know Tennessee, they got like a good amount of time before they actually do shit right now.
But shockingly, I saw this just right before we started. Will Levis has been passer rating wise since October. He has been, I'm trying to see if I can find it, but I might not be able to. But he has had the highest passer rating out of that 2023 draft class since October. So after his benching and since he's come back, he has been the best quarterback from that draft class. But of course, every rookie has done better since being benched and coming back. I mean, Bryce Young has been better. Anthony Richardson has been better. Will Levis has been better. What do you think what has been about the benching that has made these younger QBs all of a sudden just kind of light it up when they get forced back in?
About the benching?
Yeah, like Will Levis benched, comes back, plays not as dumb. Bryce Young benched, comes back because Andy Dalton's car accident. He's played better. He kind of held his own against the Chiefs. Anthony Richardson benched. He comes back. He's been better. I mean, he beat the Patriots. That doesn't mean much. But he beat the Patriots. He played well.
In a very close fucking game.
But he's been playing well. He hasn't been making dumb turnovers, and he's been playing smarter. Do you think the getting benched kind of just makes these players kind of like, I don't know. Do you think it kind of like scares them into being better? Or do you think it's coincidence?
Obviously, being benched is going to make someone, like, even if I was benched in a game, next game, and if I get time to play again, I'm gonna show the coach that, hey, you should not bench me anymore, and I actually have potential to be good, and like I'm not gonna upset you again. I mean, I guess any kind of punishment like that is gonna make them try to motivate or push themselves to be even better to get them out of that bench position. I don't know.
Yeah. Speaking of motivation, the Miami Dolphins, they seemed like they were pretty motivated heading into Green Bay, being like, oh, we're trying to kill the narratives about the kind of like the talk about them being a warm weather team. They can't do shit when it gets cold. And then they go to Green Bay. They're like, oh, we're going to rewrite the narratives. And they get their shit kicked in. And everyone's like, oh, it's because it's cold weather and all. I don't think it's the cold weather because going back to last year, Miami did not beat a team over 500 last year, if I remember right. This year, they lost to Green Bay last week. They've sucked. Now, Tua's been out. They've had some injuries, so this year's slightly different. But I also think they're just not I don't know if it's Mike McDaniels, but I think they're not a good team. They're a fine team. They're an average team. They can beat the bad teams, but they're not an elite team that can just go up against a Green Bay, go up against a Buffalo. Like some of these more high-end teams, I think they're just the worst team. I don't think it's the cold weather. Just these better teams just happen to play in a cold environment. But I think they're just a more of a mid-tier team, and people hype them up because they just have so much offensive talent. But when it comes down after your weapons and it gets down to like the linemen and the more grittier spots of the team, they just can't seem to hold their own against anyone. And I mean, this even goes, maybe it's just the toughness because they've been all speed and finesse. But even Devon Achane, who this year, he's looked pretty good, but he's had a lot of games where he struggles. So, and I think part of that is just they don't have
I
the.
mean, Raheem Mostert literally beat him last week with
Mhm.
carries and yardage, which was like nothing at all. But
Yeah, but that was surprising me. I thought Mostert was done. I thought just with the fumbling issue, like he had games where like back-to-back games, he had like two fumbles total. Like he fumbled
mm,
one game, fumbled the next, and then he got 0 carries, and now he's back to getting carries all of a sudden, which I don't know if that's them being worried about Devon Achane or if that's them just kind of trying to split up their backfield or if they think Mostert's just better. And when he doesn't fumble, he's actually good.
yeah, I don't know. It could be a combination of both.
Yeah. Then real quick, because we did it for the
About the whole coaching situation for like who can become good in the next like year or
mhm.
so, maybe next season. I feel like the Jets could potentially come out of this hole if I mean, they fired what is his name,
Oh, Robert Saleh, the
Robert
coach.
Saleh, and didn't they
Yeah,
fire,
they fired their GM Joe Douglas.
yeah. So if they actually figure out something after those fires, they kind of fill in those positions. Maybe we see better coaching, better management,
Do you
and
think
kind
they
of
would
digs them
need
out of that
a
little hole.
for that turnaround? Are you imagining that Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams stay, or even with them leaving, that might also be kind of like
I think
addition by subtraction?
I think both ways, even if they stay or go, they're still going to be in a good position because I mean maybe not specifically for next season, but in the seasons to come, I think they'll be able to rebound from it in a
I
good
agree.
way, positive way.
Yeah, because honestly, like they have a lot of talent on not just skill weapons, but I mean they loaded up in the draft. They could drafted a tackle this year, drafted a guard last year in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
So they're bulking up their D line. They have always been known to be able to draft D linemen. Speaking of D linemen, one of their former D linemen, Leonard Williams, had a historic night the other day.
Mm.
But I think the Jets, they could turn it around too. I could see it them being a worst to first kind of team next season. Speaking of worst to first, I think the biggest lock to be a worst to first team next year has to be the San Francisco 49ers just because they're
Yeah,
going to get healthy. Uh, McCaffrey out for the year. Do you think now Guerrero has gotten playing time one other game this year and he averaged like 6 yards a carry? Do you think that'll continue where it almost feels like C-Mac is an improvement, no doubt about. But do you think it'll be a continuation of the idea that they can kind of plug in anyone even after Jordan Mason going down to the third string? Do you think it's going to be kind of like smooth sailing, or do you think
I mean,
losing
yeah.
Mason and McCaffrey now they'll finally feel the loss at running back?
Mm, I mean, it's tough, but I think they'll be fine with what they've been doing with Garendo or whatever his name is. Um, yeah, I think they'll be fine with just playing Garendo, trying to get like that constant rotation going whenever those two big names are out. I mean, Jordan
Mm-hmm.
Mason Obviously, he's going to be replaceable, but I mean, CMC is hard to replace all the time. Whenever he gets injured, it's always like a rough blow. But I feel like they always find a way to kind of
Yeah.
keep in because they're still 5-7. They're still winning games
Oh yeah, and I
even
mean,
without
taking a look at the standings,
CMC.
like they're only 2 games back of Seattle. Seattle's only seven
Hmm.
and five, and if I'm a betting man, I don't. That's actually we can do that. We can take a look at their schedule. The Seahawks, like I don't know if I'm a betting man on them winning all these games to hold that spot. I mean, Arizona, they've been a feisty team, and Arizona, I mean, Seattle did beat the Arizona earlier in the year, but I feel like Arizona historically has been a matchup nightmare for Seattle. Then they got Green Bay, Minnesota back to back. Then they got the Bears and the Rams. And that's a doable schedule, especially when you got let me go to the Niners real quick. The Niners have the Bears, Rams, Dolphins. Oh, the Lions is a tough one. And the Cardinals. I
Oh yeah,
honestly, after looking at it, I like the Niners schedule a lot more.
yeah. I mean, just the two kind of tough games, but I think they easily beat the Dolphins. And I don't know, the Rams Cardinals game is going to be a good one too. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. 49ers wise, now this has been a question about Brock Purdy because he was Mr. Irrelevant. He has looked slightly worse, but I mean, like, all the shit that's going around him. But in your mind, how do you classify Brock Purdy as a QB? Is he an elite guy? Is he just a very good guy? Is he just their game manager? And it's like, hey, he's a hell of a game manager, but you don't want to trust him too much. Like, how do you rate Brock Purdy when
I
you
mean,
look at the NFL landscape?
I think he's like in Madden terms, he's like a field general, like improviser. He does what he does. He can do what he can with what he has, and he does it like good enough. I mean, even more than good enough at most points. But I think Brock Purdy is definitely a good tool and a good player to keep on your roster. I don't think they get rid of him anytime soon. Still,
Mm-hmm.
with I mean, especially with CMC. Yeah, I mean, they could kind of resort to maybe drafting a young guy next draft and trying to have him like develop under Brock Purdy. Because I feel like Brock Purdy would be one of those guys that you want to have as a bridge player for a younger QB.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and
we'll
I
see.
mean, I just looked it up, and CMC, they actually got CMC locked the fuck up. I'll
Hmm.
go ahead and pull this up for you. They got CMC locked all the way up until 2027, and then after that, it becomes a UFA. But they got 3 more years of the guy. Plus, Brandon Ayuk just extended. Debo Samuel's on a hell of a contract. Like they got the pieces there. But when it comes to
Hmm.
Brock Purdy, let's hypothetically say, well, you know what? Let me just see how much he's asking or what they think he's worth on the open market. But when it comes to Brock Purdy, it's going to be a big question on how much he ends up asking for with that next contract. Say he ends up, oh, perfect market value. Okay, now this, I was not ready for this. Okay, so according to SpotRack, my favorite website, he has a market value of 60 million a year. Okay, that would make him the highest paid quarterback of all time with that average annual. Do you think that Brock Purdy would be worth like top 5 QB money, or would you try and negotiate down and maybe look another direction to a different field general QB if he wants too much? Or would you say, fuck it, pay the man? He's done so much already. We can't really switch it up now.
That's tough because personally, I don't think I'd rate him at top five worth.
Mhm.
But
I think the only reason why they're hammering in this much money for him, a lot of it is because he's brought him to a Super Bowl. And in recent
true.
QB contracts, Jordan Love, we see the comparable players run underneath. Jordan Love hasn't made it to a NFC
And he's
championship
just
game.
as much right
Neither
now.
has Dak. Burrow, okay, he's made it to a Super Bowl. Trevor's never made it to a championship game. It's like I think the NFL, especially with some of these QBs who have gotten it done, like Purdy, like Mahomes, like Allen, Like Lamar got paid. I mean, so has Allen. But none of them are getting paid like these guys. This new crop of NFL QB contracts are all based solely off of projection. And I think that's going to fuck teams that are going to be paying guys based off of what they've done and not projection. Because they're going to be like, well, I've already played so much better. I can't come close to that number. And I mean, it all really started with Deshaun Watson. This has all been a trickle-down effect of the Deshaun Watson deal. But that's going to be a tough contract to eat up. But I mean, I feel like now I did see a thing earlier that there were talks in San Fran about possibly moving on from Brock Purdy, but Kyle Shanahan shut that shit down real quick, saying that he's committed to him, which I respect. But I mean, I kind of get why. Jimmy G wasn't it. Trey Lance wasn't it. But I mean, do you think? I mean, we haven't seen Trey Lance in a while, but do you think Brock Purdy is that much of an upgrade from a Trey Lance? I mean, obviously. But do you think Trey Lance truly, he hasn't even gotten a shot in Dallas? Was Trey Lance really that bad where he can't even beat out a Cooper Rush? Because Trey Lance actually put up all right numbers as the starter in San Fran when he started for the 3 or 4 weeks. It's like they weren't that much of a skill difference. It's just Purdy played. Lance was hurt.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they're looking at in terms of what they've done for the team overall. They're going to obviously choose Brock Purdy over Trey Lance any day for that reason.
Yeah, I'd agree. So now moving on from all of that, I mean, okay, let me actually bring this up because I can bring it up because this needs to be talked about real quick. The fucking Alabama football team released possibly the absolute worst, and I mean the worst, signing day edits I have ever seen. And I mean, these are bad. Let's take a look real quick. I mean, what the fuck are we thinking here? What are we doing?
It looks like
who got paid? Bro, hire me.
Horror game vibe.
Bro, this one is probably one of the more egregious because you can kind of see. Actually, no. Let me find an even worse.
I see what they were trying to do.
It looks like, I mean, I do too. I see what they're trying to do, some PS1 cool graphic thing, but
some throwback.
Fuck, what is that?
I don't understand why they made all their noses triangles and just blurred all their eyes and mouths.
I think that's the word. If they left, if they could have made a 2001, 2002 NFL Madden graphic. They could have done it. This was they just removed the mouth and eye, and they didn't even do it good. That one's honestly kind of better, but some of these. This one, they didn't even finish getting rid of the mouth. You see his mouth. You see the lips right there. Did they make this in 5? What is this shoulder pad?
It looks like just random shapes thrown on there too.
It is. They did no I don't even
look at that shoulder pad.
Which one? This one? Where they fucking were just what are we gonna do for a shoulder? Oh, let's just make a triangle. What are we doing? Who got paid? I also love that the comments on a lot of these we haven't brought up, but the comments on all of them. First pick is disturbing. Nah, go back. Everyone. And then the more we go, it's okay, they're starting to get it. But bro, this was terrible. This was absolute. These edits are
This
ugly.
is why y'all lost to see OU.
Graphic department about to cost us some recruits. I mean, it really is. That is some of the most horrific graphics
I mean,
I have ever seen. That
yeah,
is shit.
if I was a recruit and I like saw that, I wouldn't even repost that shit. I'd be like, I don't even want to put that on my page.
No, that was bad. But I don't know if you heard this story, but have you heard of Keanu Coat?
No, I have not.
Okay, so Keanu Coat is a backup linebacker on Bama. He has a half a sack, 3 total tackles on the year. Okay. And this is what he does. He decides to DM the Bama's head coach's daughter and
Oh
says,
no.
let me get this exact quote already. Okay. He says he just slides in. His first DM message is "want this horse?" question mark. His second message
Wait,
is
bro's playing EA College Football 25 IRL.
yeah, and his second message was a dick pic. Like dead ass. Let me pull up this article. Like,
I don't
what
want to
are
see the
you
hog, bro. I don't want to see the
thinking?
hog if they're showing it.
No, they don't have that. But what are you thinking? Like, do you think it was a dare? Do you think he just was sick of being a backup on Bama? Like, what could possibly have been going through this guy's head for doing this? I mean, here you go. Here's a news article quickly covering about it so you can see the title. It's real. Yes, he has fun fact, he has entered the transfer portal, as you can see.
So.
Real quick, a little underneath.
Thing is, I don't know who's gonna take him now.
Let me zoom in on this real quick. Former Alabama linebacker and 5-star recruit Keanu Coat announced his decision to enter the NCAA transfer portal. So he is, in fact, gonna be leaving Bama for his dick pic. Which what was this man thinking? I don't get it. I don't.
I mean, that's one way to, I guess, show your frustration with the team.
Yeah, you fucking
the coaching.
You let the coach.
Let me just hit up yo daughter.
It say want this horse dick pic.
Send her a pic of my horse.
Like, what are we doing, bro? Like, he maybe he was upset with the NIL deal. Like, that's the craziest part. At least back then, you weren't getting paid. He just not only blew his chance at a top tier college, probably, he also just blew his NIL deal, if I had to assume. Unless maybe like moms in your local area.com might hire him. Zach Wilson might hire him.
But. Zach Wilson. Yeah, that's definitely it's a prospect right
there. Speaking of dumb decisions, Deontay Johnson, who was...
I saw that one.
Yeah, who was, for whatever reason, he kind of got valued. And if you think about it, in a way, he was valued at a decent price, considering he was valued as good as DeAndre Hopkins. Same trade value. Deontay Johnson
passed around now,
and
too.
DeAndre Hopkins. Yeah, and Deontay Johnson has been suspended a game for refusing to play against the Philadelphia Eagles. Yesterday, before the suspension, John Harbaugh was like, we got some stuff to figure out. We got some stuff to talk about with Deontay. We're trying to get him more involved in the offense, and this is how they're getting him more involved. And this is already, I mean, it's only a 5th round pick.
What was his excuse for even,
not going in?
Not playing?
From what I've seen, he hasn't released a statement personally. All that has been talked about is from the owner, and I mean, not the owner, the GM has talked about it, saying it was a difficult choice. And then John Harbaugh has simply said, we've tried to get him involved, and he's a great... and then Lamar Jackson came out and said, we want to get him in there. We've traded for him for a reason. He's a great receiver. Do you think he'll come back from this and actually make an impact, or do you think he's just going to end up being a waste of a 5th round pick?
The Ravens kind of need it. I feel like they need a receiver like Deontay Johnson just to fill in that like receiver gap they have right now. I mean, they have Hollywood. Do they have Hollywood Brown right now?
No, Hollywood's he signed a 1-year deal with the
Yeah,
Chiefs and he got hurt.
yeah.
So
And
all
then you got hurt.
they got Zay Flowers. Let me
And they
pull up
got
their depth
Bateman.
chart. Yeah, they
They got
got
Rashad
Bateman.
Bateman, Zay Flowers. I mean, yeah, they definitely need that solid wide receiver too right now.
Mm-hmm.
Zay Flowers can obviously stay the one.
Yeah,
And
so
Bateman's honestly like mid as hell. So
yeah, so looking at it, here we go. I pulled up the depth chart for us. So the Ravens depth chart, this is and by the way, you can be twice as confident with complex apparently.
yeah,
So receiving wise, all they got is Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, who's questionable. He's hurt. I didn't know he was questionable. That's news to me,
me either.
honestly.
Nelson
Nelson
Agholor.
Agholor. Like right now,
What
they're
a
wide.
throwback.
If Bateman, now he's questionable. So I bet, since I didn't really hear about it, I'm going to assume he's fine. Their wide receiver 3 is Nelson Agholor. Then it goes to Tylan Wallace, who's, I'm pretty sure he's a young guy. But they don't have anyone after that.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's rough.
Devontae, but you're right. They need Deontay Johnson to be that third
They really
receiver
do
for
need
them.
him.
They do. If they want any chance of having a good run. I mean, you can only hand it off so much. Eventually, those guys are going to have to show up. I will say this about Baltimore, though. They do have a hell of a 1-2 punch at tight end. Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely.
And they got Derrick Henry, one of the best running backs in the league. So
yeah, so like they can win without him, but God, having him, that would be just such a help. It really would be such a help. But speaking of trade deadline acquisitions, do you think teams buy now more in other leagues than the NFL? The NFL is starting to catch up to other leagues in this respect. But do you think buying at the trade deadline is a bit overrated, trying to shed draft picks? Because in recent years, I kind of did a little look-see, and like the teams that buy, I mean, sometimes it does work out for them, but just in recent memory, like the Bruins traded away 2 first-round picks in 2023 to lose in the first round. Some other ones, the Islanders traded for Virgin Gabriel Pajot for like a first in 2020. He ended up being absolutely nothing for them. Football-wise, the Rams, now this was an interesting one because the Rams did a lot of their buying the year before in 2019, getting guys like Jalen Ramsey, Matthew Stafford that offseason. Didn't do much at the actual deadline. I think they did get someone, though. The Niners, they've been buying so much. I mean, they had a year they traded for Emmanuel Sanders, trying to get a receiver in there. The Chiefs, they traded for Melvin Ingram one year to try and get better. That year they didn't win it at all. Of course, this year they got DeAndre Hopkins. We'll see what they do with that. But do you think, how important do you think it is for a contending team to go out buying for players, getting rid of future assets to kind of win now? Do you think it's really as effective as people make it out to be?
I think teams kind of overthink in that position, and they kind of not necessarily like bring them even like, I mean, there's obviously situations where it has worked, and kind of buying out for that one season, the one winning season, does pay off. But some teams will kind of make the wrong decisions if they do, um, you know, actually go all out for the trade deadline and start buying players and getting rid of people and assets that they don't need. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like it is depending on how you are in the season. Like if you do need the players, then you just go out and actually get them
Mm-hmm.
during the trade line.
Yeah,
I don't
because
know.
like I feel like more, I mean, mainly more in other leagues. But I feel like a lot of years it ends up being like a seller's market where it's like if you're trying to get rid of someone at the deadline, you're going to find someone desperate that's going to overpay. And I mean, we actually saw in the NFL this year, the Jets gave up a second round pick for Devontae Adams. Or it was a third that can turn into a second. So it'll probably be a third. But I mean, they did that. They gave up like a first, maybe. No, I think it was just one first for Aaron Rodgers. Like, there's been so many times where buying fails. But on the other end of that, there's been so many times where teams sell off all their assets. We're really seeing it, honestly, a lot, I feel like, in the NHL with some teams like Detroit, where teams, the Commanders are an exception. We'll get into that in a second. But teams will sell off anything that's valuable. Anything that has value gets traded for picks. And then it's like, yeah, you have all these assets, but then you actually have to hit on the picks. And I feel like a lot of teams get stuck in this constant rebuild. I mean, the Browns have done it to themselves after finally having something. But so many teams get caught in a constant rebuild of selling off whatever they find valuable to try and get assets to get better for the future. But then they just find themselves right back in the same exact spot, like 5 years down the road.
Just in a rabbit hole of selling.
Yeah, I mean, we see with the Jets, they were 3rd overall pick in 2019. Then they have the Sam Darnold era. They suck. 2021, they're right back with the 2nd overall pick. And now they're looking to be right back there again. But I wanted to stop and say the Commanders are an exception to this rule because they traded Chase Young and Montez Sweat last year. They've traded away some more pieces since then. And it seems to only have made them got better. And now, do you think that's just all the Jaden Daniels effect and he has just been that hot of a rookie? Or do you think Washington, honestly, they've made the right moves to make them good enough where even when selling, they could still be competitive in following years and they did more of a retool than a full-on sell?
I think they definitely made themselves prepared for how good they've been playing recently. And then obviously Jaden Daniels, the number 1 QB rookie right now, is going to be a big part of that reason. And that's also one of the pros to drafting well after kind of selling out and looking for those picks and setting up for the future. And that's exactly what's the outcome of all that can do for you.
Mm-hmm. And now this is I think this is gonna take up a lot of time, so nice. But anyway, Washington. Speaking of Washington, they did something that I wanted to talk about a little bit, and I think it hurts a lot of teams. You kind of got to get a little lucky with this, but the way, I mean, NHL is worse than any other league about this. NBA's damn near terrible, especially seeing what Doc Rivers has done in Milwaukee. But the NFL's also fallen. Every sport does it. But the recycling of coaches is absolutely insane. Of course, Washington had a recycled coach last go around who they fired in Ron Rivera. They fire him. They hire another recycled head coach in Dan Quinn. He's looking a lot better, I believe. Yeah. So, and when it comes to head coaches being recycled, it is Dan Quinn. Okay, I just need to double check, but I knew it was Dan Quinn. But the way head coaches get recycled is absolutely insane, especially some bad ones. So Cliff Kingsbury, because the other number 1 overall QB in this draft was Caleb Williams. They're 4-8. They've lost 5 in a row. They were 4-2 at one point. They just fired their head coach, Matt Eberflus. He was a first-time head coach. And have you seen who their number 1 target this offseason for head coach is?
No, but I'm assuming it's going to be recycled head coach.
Good old head coach Cliff Kingsbury,
Yep.
baby, has been in talks to be the rumored next head coach in Chicago. He's currently the OC in Washington. And, when it comes, especially now, Cliff Kingsbury is what made me want to talk about this. This man, and it's honestly carried over to Washington if you really think about it. This man sucks from week 8 to the end of the year. Every year, dating back to his days at Texas Tech with Patrick Mahomes, the beginning of his years, his team looks stacked. And I mean, we can go back to the Cardinals the last couple years. They've had some hot starts, 7-2 and shit, where it's oh fuck. Arizona with Kyler Murray, former 1st overall, might finally be breaking through. And then they collapse at the end of the year. Washington right now, They have looked worse the last couple weeks than they have all year. What a shocker. Their OC is Cliff Kingsbury. He's the king of first halves. And now Chicago is looking to do the same fucking shit. How, like, I don't get it. I get this. Do you see like the big appeal in recycling head coaches, especially those head coaches who have not succeeded? Like, I get if you go out and hire Bill Belichick. Well, fuck, I'd recycle that head coach too. But there's some head coaches, like Pat Shurmur got a job with the Giants a couple years ago to be, I think it was their head coach. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was their head coach. Pat Shurmur had been a head coach. He was a head coach of the Browns, and he went like 2-14 with them. Now, I get it's the Browns, but there comes a time, like Lovie Smith, he got recycled.
I feel like they must be just scared to actually go out and look for a new head coach because of the fact, I mean, there's something there that's making them, I don't know.
Do you think GMs, like, do you think owners are just more comfortable with a guy who's been a head coach, even if he fucked up last time?
I feel like they're more comfortable with someone who's actually been in the league, been in the NFL, instead of actually going out and grabbing like maybe college level head coaches or newer into the game head coaches, younger coaches. Kind of like how the Patriots kind of made their shot on Gerard Mayo. I would like to see more GMs actually kind of make that shot on younger, less experienced head coaches than going for the recycled ones, because it makes it actually more of a talent pool in the coaches scene, I guess. But
no, I agree. I mean, we've seen some great first-time head coaches in recent. I mean, Kyle Shanahan, he balled the fuck out with San Fran. D'Amico Ryan's over there in Houston. He's been balling out. Jim Harbaugh, I know he's a recycled head coach, but his first go-around in San Fran was a huge success. He's doing it again in LA. Like, I just feel like a lot of these coaches, it's like, if you failed your first time, there's a chance it wasn't on you. There's a chance that, hey, the GM did a shit job. Everything around you was dog water. But a lot of these guys, like Lovie Smith, getting the job in 2022 with Houston, why? Like, he already failed in Chicago, and he had over a decade there. I feel like teams need to be prepared to just let guys go. I get wanting to keep one of these guys around as just an advisor because he's been in the league for years. He knows a lot. He's got a lot of knowledge in there. But give the young guy a chance who hasn't fucked up. Like if you're a GM, like
kind of like Sean McVay too. Like, he was never in a head coach position.
Yeah, and he was the youngest head coach of all time.
Yeah.
And he's
he balled out
one
once
of the
he
most
became
successful.
a head coach.
Like, I think there has been more of a youth movement. I mean, teams have been trying to go younger, kinda. Like, I mean, there was that whole thing with the Falcons. They wanted Bill Belichick. They end up going with a first-time head coach. A couple teams have been going first-time head coaches, but then just like some of the first-time head coaches they even end up choosing, it's like it's not even the best option. Now, I get you can't always get the best option, like Ben Johnson, an OC for Detroit. Everyone's been wanting him, but like this can even get thrown to. This is something both of us would know a lot about, because Josh fucking McDaniels, everyone wanted him. And I don't get why. I still don't.
I didn't understand that one either.
He completely flopped in Denver. The players with the Patriots, I mean, then he comes back. The Patriots offense looks damn near identical, which just shows they didn't change a fucking thing when Josh McDaniels left. And then teams are just banging down our door to go get him. And I'm surprised we even tried to keep him around as long as we. I mean, he was a big part of the Mac Jones progression until he regressed because we didn't replace him. But I mean, especially during the Brady years, I just don't. We could have gone without him. Like,
yeah, I mean, I agree.
And that's another one of those why if a person fails that badly, why even risk?
They just
recycling?
Always overlook it, and they just look at the experience rather than.
I guess that's it. Yeah,
I guess that's really it for those GMs. I don't know.
Yeah, I was just looking at the experience. I mean, like I get it. I mean, another weird one. This happened last year. Probably the weirdest one. I mean, the Panthers were a weird fucking team last year, but when they
And I guess
hired
if their
Frank
scheme
Reich,
fits, then they already know their.
Matty Eberflus on the way. He's already got a one-way ticket to Carolina. But yeah, I just don't really get the recycling of the NFL head coaches. I really don't. Oh yeah. So last thing, another thing that I wanted to quickly bring up here was the NHL. They're doing their four-nation face-off, which I'm not gonna lie. I mean, actually, I'm kind of curious what you would think about this. Okay, so the NHL is doing like a four-nation face-off where they have the USA, Canada, Finland, and Switzerland all playing a little mini tourney against each other. Why are
Kind
we
of like the
not just
top
waiting for the
Olympic
Olympics?
teams. I'm gonna say they just chose the top Olympic teams and just threw them
What's
together.
crazy is that this is the first Olympics, the 1 and 2 years from now, the Winter Olympics. It'll be the first Winter Olympics since 2024. I mean, since 2014.
2020.
Since 2014 that had NHL players in it. So it's fun, but like just wait for the Olympics. If you're gonna be in the Olympics, we might as well just wait for the Olympics.
Yeah, I mean, definitely will make it a lot more interesting to have more and more teams to watch and see more NHL players go to those different country teams supporting their countries. So, I mean, it still will be like a fun watch seeing which of those which of them actually come out and beat the tournament. Wait, is that tournament? There's going to be NHL players in that tournament, just the
Yeah,
four of
let
those.
me pull up the here you go. So we'll take a look at Team USA first. But yes, every single
Canada's
player
probably stacked.
on these rosters is in fact a NHL player. Let me go like this. There we go. So it shows the
Oh
teams.
yeah, Eichel.
Yep, Eichel's in there, Adam Fox, Quinn Hughes, Austin Matthews. So it's like really the best of the best. Team Sweden. There we go.
Swayman's a goal.
Mm-hmm. The only issue now, I know you're not as big of a hockey follower as me, but I know you do know a good bit about hockey. The Team Canada's goalie situation is rough. You got
That is
Jordan
actually rough.
Binnington, Aiden Hill, and Sam Montembeault as your three goalies. What the fuck
they
is
have a
Canada
solid.
doing?
They have a solid defense.
They
right
do.
now.
Their defense is
they have
loaded.
Theodoro.
Their forward core, I mean, look at this. Crosby, McKinnon,
Connor
Marchand, McDavid, Point, Sorelli, Seth Jarvis.
So they're
Martin.
they're gonna be relying heavily on scoring as many goals as they can.
Yeah, but I mean, like the only issue with that is the fact that every other team is low. I mean, Team USA, Eichel, Matthews to Chuck. Mm-hmm. Teams are loaded, but in net you actually got good goalies. Ottinger, stud. Swayman, he's been struggling, but so has all of Boston. So, honestly, I'll get to that in a second. But Team Sweden, you got Forsberg, Hedman, Nylander, Carlson, another Carlson. Their goalie situation: Gustafsson, Markstrom, Linus Ullmark, former Bruin.
Pretty good. Gustafsson's pretty good.
Yeah, he is. I feel like he's slightly underrated. Finland, Aho, Barkov, Lindell, Teravainen, Armia. I mean, their forward core doesn't have the greatest depth. I mean, when Joel Armia and Eric Howell are the best, you rock and not the best. Defense is also a little weak when Valmack, Ristolainen, Mata. Goalies, though, also weak. Kevin Lankinen, Pekka Luukkonen. I could have sworn. Yeah, never mind. I knew they had someone baller here. Yeah, they got UC Saros. I knew someone was missing. I was like, no way, this is their goalies. But do you think Team Canada with fucking Binnington, Hill, and Montembeault, do you think they can kind of be, because of course Canada is known as like the hockey nation. Do you think they're going to get dethroned? And at least in this tournament, because of how bad their goalies are?
They could, because I think USA kind of got the most balanced team out of all of them.
I would agree, especially with the goaltending help. I would personally, doing a quick look at the roster reveal, I would personally give Team USA the best team. Well, okay, including goalies, because Team Canada has the best offense in the world. I mean,
Oh,
there's no
definitely.
stopping McDavid
Yeah.
and fucking McDavid and Crosby and McKinnon. I mean, their forward core is
Marchand.
insane. And like, that's going to be the real question is like, can a team stop them from scoring? Because if you get one game, you just need one game to not let them overload you on offense, and you're taking them out. I think.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, defensively they're strong though. Like, it's just
All
really
they have
like,
to do, I feel like all they have to do is just stuff their forwards and then get through
mhm.
that defense, and then they easily can
Yeah,
take that win
and
against
that
Canada.
goalie, especially that goalie situation, like those are the kind of goalies where it's like they could just make an easy mistake. They could just let an easy puck get by. And not another, I mean, let's see, Team USA, like Ottinger and Swayman, neither of them are letting an easy puck get. I mean, especially Ottinger. Swayman, I would say that in the
Mm.
past, but you know.
Yeah.
Team Sweden, I mean, no one. I mean, Gustafson's good, Markstrom's good,
Yeah.
Olmark's good. I mean, Olmark's
All
been
three
really
good
struggling,
goalies.
but he's in Ottawa, so you know, Ottawa sucks. But they're still really loaded. I would personally have to say Team Finland, I think, is the weakest, even though they have the best goalie. I'm gonna say they're the weakest team. I just feel like a lot of these guys are more of depth players, and then you got fucking
Mm.
UC Saros, Mikko Rand. They're very top heavy. And like you got the studs, and then whoa. Team USA, I'm gonna have to say I'm a homer. Team USA, best team. Best
Team
team.
USA. You saying Team USA wins the tourney?
I think so. Because okay, so here's my issue. Team Sweden, I really like Sweden. Just I think let me take a quick. Yeah, I'm gonna take Team USA's defense and
I wonder if they're
forward
gonna keep the
wise.
same jerseys, like Olympic jerseys. They're probably gonna change them up, I think.
Oh yeah, they'll probably have like special unis or something.
Yeah.
But I think Team USA has the best team overall. I think Team Canada has the best offense, but I think that defense could really screw them. I mean, not the defense,
Mm.
the goaltending. Their defense is fine. That goaltending could screw them. But as a homer, let me say this real quick. Team Finland, how you don't have my man Jonas Korpisalo as a goalie is beyond me. He is better. I don't know if you know this. Jonas Korpisalo, the Bruins' current backup goalie, he has better numbers than Jeremy Swayman. But
Damn.
Swayman made Team USA,
It's
but
it's always
Korpisalo
no.
couldn't make
It's
Team
always
Finland.
it's always the backup goalies in the freaking in Boston
It
that
really is, bro.
shine.
Swayman was better when he was a backup. Korpisalo's the backup now. He's a ball.
Something about being
Boston,
a backup in Boston.
we could actually like Boston historically has had some of the best backup goalies in the NHL. I mean, going from this year Korpisalo, last year Swayman. Before Swayman, the backup goalie was Yaroslav Halak. He was a baller. He was old, but he was a baller. Before that, Anton Khudobin. I mean, so Halak had some time starting before he came to Boston. Khudobin, he had some time starting after Boston. There's another goalie in there. Oh, fuck. I mean, I know Nicholas Fedberg. He's probably the worst Bruins backup we ever had. He was in between Khudobin and Tuukka because Tuukka obviously got elevated to starter. But there was another
Yeah.
guy in there in that mix that was also a really good goalie. Is that goaltending coach, bro? Coach Bob, goalie Bob, is a baller. Coach goalie Bob is a baller. So yeah, Four Nations face off. I got Team USA. Are you taking Team USA or are you gonna go
Yeah, I'll be
Canada?
taking Team USA.
Hell
but,
yeah, brother. USA, rise up.
Mm.
So yeah. Anything else you really want to cover real quick?
No, I think that's pretty much it for me.
All right then, boys. This was a great episode. Just me and him. Next week we may be a trio again. Who knows? But for
We
now,
might even have a special guest, maybe too.
we may. We were actually. I was
Yeah.
talking to someone about possibly hopping on this week. Didn't happen. Could happen next week. I wanted to get him on in the next couple of weeks. Plus, there's some other guys that we could have on. So we'll start having
Yeah.
guests soon. Nowhere to go but
Spice
up.
it up a little bit.
Gonna definitely get a little spicy. Speaking of spicy, actually, because we have 2 minutes, we can quickly talk about this. Did you see Sophie Rain's fucking earnings?
Yeah, the OnlyFans model.
Yeah, fucking 43 million in a year.
Man, it makes you want to change genders real quick and
Yeah, it
like
makes me want
just
to get
start an
some big
OnlyFans and
titties and fucking
big
start.
tatas,
Ugh, you know.
big calcium cannons and just start shooting them everywhere.
Yeah, and then I don't know if you saw this part, but she also showed who her top donor was. Guess how much money her number one fan gave her.
Bro's probably a millionaire, billionaire.
Just guess how much was donated. In one fiscal, not even a whole
1
year,
year?
because it's December 4th, so it's only 11 months. How much did this one man
that's
spend
a lot of money. So
in
I'm
11
gonna guess,
months?
I'm gonna guess like some crazy number, like at least 10 mil.
You went a little too crazy. It was only 5 million.
mil.
But
5 mil,
$5
I
million
guess.
dollars in a
That's
fucking year?
crazy.
Bro, I saw.
You have to be ultra simp, ultra cuck to do that.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me, but I do remember off the top of my head. This was his breakdown, okay? It was like $90 just for the 1 month subscription, so he got that 11 times, so like $10 a month. That makes sense, okay? Then it goes like $300,000 on messaging her. So I don't know how OnlyFans work. I don't have one. Look at that. But I don't know if you have to pay for every single message.
Check the phone right now, buddy.
I don't know if you have to pay for every single message, but I feel like paying someone fucking $300,000 to text them in a year is fucking insane.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what makes it all worse? His tips. So, of course, when you tip someone, I mean, OnlyFans might be different. But I'm assuming when you tip someone, that means you're getting nothing in return. You're just tipping as like
genuinely
a hey, good
just giving
work.
them money.
Yeah, just free money saying good work.
Just for being a hoe, she's getting
She's
tips.
got $4.5 million in tips from this one guy. What is she doing? Where $4.5 million is like, yes, sir. That's a good tip right there. Like, what?
She gotta like bless this man for.
Bro, do you know what you have to do for me to give you $5 million?
Yeah, that man.
Especially as a whore. If you're a whore, you need to do so much for me for $5 million. That's all I'm going to say. But more than she did, I bet. Because I bet he didn't even get to see her in person, I bet, for $5 million.
You got to start doing more than tricks on it.
Yeah, you need, bro, like that shitty
like,
Kanye song where it's like ride a dick like a carnival. I need more than that. We're going to fucking like space with this for $5 million.
A new planet, new galaxies.
Yeah, need it.
Elon Musk, fucking SpaceX type shit.
All right, guys, that's all we got. Good ending, great show. We'll see you guys next week.
Peace
Bye.
out. Good show.
Yes, sir.